Okay. So a little overview of meditation before we kind of deep dive into the steps that we're going to go through when we're meditating, right? Hey, Alan. So meditation is a technique to train your mind to become familiar with something, right? So familiarization is huge in our lives, right? We might not really notice it, but familiarization is key to determining how our day is going moment to moment, right? So let's think about getting angry, right? That comes kind of easy, right? We don't really need to try to get angry. We could be walking down the street, birds are chirping, the sun's out, somebody says something to us, boom, angry, right? It happens super fast. Almost seems like it comes naturally, right? What about being really patient? Maybe not. It doesn't come as naturally, right? We have to really try hard to be patient. Now, we might kind of think, well, I guess that means I'm like an angry person. No, not at all, right? You've just had more practice getting angry than getting patient, right? So your mind is more familiar with getting angry than getting patient. So when we get into a situation that, is a little anger inducing, our mind is like, I know exactly what to do. I'm going to get angry, right? And it just happens. So meditation is all about choosing what we want to familiarize our mind with, tilting the scales in the other direction, to be more patient than angry, more familiar with being patient than more familiar with being angry, or being more calm instead of anxious, right? We can do anything with meditation, right? All meditation is training your mind to become familiar with something you want it to be familiar with, right? So this really impacts our day, right? So if our mind, imagine how your day would be if your mind was so familiar with being patient and calm that it had to actually try pretty hard to be uncalm and angry, right? Hey, probably have a great day. So that's our goal, right? Our goal with meditation is to do some investigation to see what we want to familiarize our mind with, and then start sending it along that path, training our mind, right? In the same way we would train our body, right? By working out or running or something like that, right? So regardless of why you're here, right? Whether it's to learn how to de-stress or relax or work with your anxiety or feelings of sadness or having gratitude for the things you have, whatever reason you're here, the steps of meditation are the same, which is great because we're going to learn the steps and then you're going to be able to use these steps to do a lot of different things with meditation in your life. So step one of this whole here for Fresh Cut Wednesday, Rob. Welcome, my friend. So step one is planning. I don't know. Some people love planning and other people don't. I don't. So this step has actually been really quite hard for me over the 12 years I've been meditating, right? So we want to kind of determine what we want to do in our meditation session, right? So sometimes when we are learning to meditate, and this will become a little more clear when we get into talking about how we actually go about meditating, but sometimes we start to be like, I'm just going to sit down and see what happens, right? Which is like a pretty cool mentality to have, right? But it can sometimes lead to us having a hard time getting back on track when we inevitably get distracted, right? Our mind is just, it doesn't matter if you've been doing this 0 days or 6,000 days, your mind is going to get distracted once in a while. So if we have a plan, it's easier to get back on track, right? And this doesn't need to be some crazy grandiose plan, right? I'm going to be happy all day long or whatever. No, it could be like, I'm going to focus on my breath for 2 minutes, right? There's a plan, right? Very, very simple plan. Right? So I like to kind of think about this step, planning, as like a hiking trail, right? So if you're going to go on a hike, right, it's good to have a trail. Why is it good to have a trail when you're hiking? Because if you get lost, then you're like, oh, okay, there's the trail. I'll get back on, right? So if you go on a hike off the grid, you're kind of brave and you do that, and you get lost, it's not as easy for you to find where you want to be, right? So we can think of this step as our mental hiking trail. What do we want to do in our meditation session, right? And this step is also pretty analogous to intention. And maybe we've heard that word before. We've had a lot of classes on intention, right? Intention is really important for like setting ourselves up for the day, right? I like to think of intention as a compass, right? It's not telling you exactly where you need to be at every moment, but it's reminding you when you get a little lost, oh, I got to head in this direction, right? So the whole like what should my plan be will as we start to talk about what meditation is and how we do it, it'll start to become more clear. But I always like to mention this because it is a step that often gets overlooked, even by me. So step one plan, right? We have our plan, right? Let's say we're going to do we're going to focus on our breath for about 2 minutes. Great. Awesome plan, right? Well, now we have to do that, right? We have to relax. So step two is relaxing, right? So why is relaxing important, right? If our end goal is to familiarize our mind with something, why is relaxing important? So if we think about when we're not relaxed, right? Let's say when we're agitated, angry, anxious, all those things, right? What happens, right? Things don't really seem to come as easily, right? We're not thinking as clearly, as objectively. Things that normally don't bother us a lot, right? And then later on, a couple days later, we're thinking about, right? We're like, I don't know why I was so upset about that. Not a big deal, right? So when our mind is agitated, stressed, all those things, right? It's not thinking as clearly as we might want it to, right? So our goal with relaxing in meditation isn't just it feels great to relax. That's awesome. But it's also to set ourselves up with the best possible conditions to familiarize our mind with something, to gain some insight, to investigate things, right? So if you think about if you're running a race, right? You're training. You're going to do a half marathon. Oof, good luck. What are you going to do? You're not just going to wake up on race day and go run, right? No, you're going to train before race day, right? Then the night before, you're going to get a good night's sleep. You're going to eat a good meal. And you're going to wake up the next morning and have a energy drink or something. I don't know. Can you tell I run marathons all the time? And then, you get to the race and what are you going to do? You're going to stretch, right? All these things you're doing are to set yourself up to have the best possible race you can, right? So learning how to relax is beneficial in a lot of ways. And one is it sets you up to have the best possible day outlook, insight that you possibly can, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we meditate? How do we relax, right? Most of us are here learning how to meditate so we can relax, right? How do we do that? So we do that with something called single-pointed concentration. Fancy. All that means is focusing on one thing, right? Uh-oh. Not multitasking. Are we good at that? Our whole lives are multitasking. Talk about being familiar. Talk about thinking about what our mind is familiar with, right? Do you think your mind is more familiar with multitasking, thinking about a bunch of different things as fast as possible all at the same time, or focusing on one thing exclusively? I'm going to go with multitasking, right? And so sometimes when we try to say, hey, mind, you're going to focus on this, or even you're not going to focus on this, right? Our mind's like, no. That's not what's happening. I'm going to focus on a lot of things. So meditation is the act of choosing one thing to focus on, right? And then focusing on it so exclusively that all of the other thoughts, stress, anxieties, things bouncing around our head, clawing for our attention, they start to fade into the background a little bit, right? Yeah, you kind of had an experience like this before, I'm sure, if you've ever felt in the zone at work or something like that, working on a Excel sheet or something like that, and you're totally plugged into it. What happens? You lose track of time, right? Maybe if you're in the office, you don't hear all the noises that normally are really distracting, people chewing or something right next to you. I don't know. But all those things that are, it's not like they're gone. They just kind of seem like they're gone, right? It's almost as if they just disappear, right? And that's all because we're super focused on one thing, exclusively concentrating on one thing, right? Single-pointed concentration, right? So for meditation, most commonly we use our breath as this focal point of single-pointed concentration in order to relax, to do this second step. Right? Why? Why do we use our breath? Right? Well, a really wonderful aspect of using your breath as this focal point for relaxation is you always have your breath with you. Right? So if we use something like this serene lake that's a half an hour from our house, well, we're not always going to have that, right? So using your breath, becoming adept at using your breath to relax is wonderful. And it's super empowering because it makes you feel like, hey, you know what? I can do this out in the real world, right? Which is our goal. Our goal isn't to have you just sit here for, once a week for an hour or whatever and just think about this stuff. No, it's to translate it into your life to benefit you, right? So the breath is really a wonderful place to start, right? And it also helps us realize that we don't really need perfect external conditions in order to do this, in order to meditate, right? We don't need to retreat to the mountaintop, or to sit in dead silence for an hour or whatever, right? No, we just need a little bit of effort, patience, and our breath. And we can learn how to relax ourselves through meditation and set ourselves up to have a really great day, right? So I think we should take step 1 and step 2 and do a short meditation now. So remember, step 1 is planning and step 2 is relaxing. So we're going to do a breathing meditation. And if this is your first time meditating, it's pretty simple from an instructional standpoint, right? In practice, you might find it to be more challenging or maybe not, but instructionally, all we're going to do is focus on our breathing in and out, right? And when you notice that your attention has drifted, right? When your mind's like, hey, think about that thing that happened earlier that you're really annoyed about, right? We're going to be like, no, not right now. Focusing on my breath. And we're going to bring our attention back to breathing, right? And I'm going to guide us, right? I'm not just going to set you off on your own. I'm going to guide us through this experience, okay? And that process of choosing to focus on our breath and noticing when our breath has drifted and being able to bring it back, that is meditation, right? Sometimes we think meditation is just thinking about nothing or, never being distracted. No. Meditation is about being able to bring your mind back to your plan when it gets distracted. Okay? Cool. So let's do that now. If you are sitting in a chair like me, great. If you're laying down, also great. If you are sitting on a cushion, great. If you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, great. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you are relatively comfortable, right? We don't want to be uncomfortable. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to think about that instead of thinking about our breath, right? And we need to focus on one thing. So make sure you're relatively comfortable, right? Put a little cushion under you if you need to. And you can go ahead and close your eyes, and you're just going to kind of follow along with what I'm saying. I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay? All right. So whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we always do is check in with ourselves. How are you feeling right now in this very moment? Are you tired? Are you energetic? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you worried? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All that matters is you take time to notice what your mind is up to. This is called mindfulness, a word you probably have heard before. Mindfulness is quite simply an active awareness of your thoughts moment to moment, so that way you can skillfully respond to them. So just notice how you're feeling right now. And having done that, having checked in, you can now turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose. Very gently and very naturally. You do not need to take big, deep breaths or exhale the air forcefully. We're just breathing normally, in and out, following the air for the entire time it enters our nose and the entire time it exits our nose. Breathing in and breathing out very gently and very naturally as you begin to allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to relax by focusing on breathing in and breathing out. At some point, you may notice that your attention is being diverted. Your mind is trying to get you to pay attention to something else, maybe something that happened earlier in the day, or something coming up later after class. Whenever you notice that this has happened, you just gently guide your attention back to breathing in and out, very simply and gently guide it back. Back to breathing in, breathing out, following each breath, and enjoying sitting here, enjoying breathing. You have nothing else to do, you have nowhere else to be, just here in this moment with your breath, breathing in and out. Very gently, very naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice that it has drifted. This process, choosing to focus on our breath, making a plan, and then noticing when our attention has drifted and being able to bring it back, this is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to be happy, to access its natural, peaceful state. And you're doing it all on your own, with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So just continue to breathe in and out for a little while longer. Okay. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? Any first timers here? There's always first timers. Anyone willing to share how that went? Maybe it was easier than you thought, harder than you thought. Everyone's going to have a different experience, right? Everyone. Oh, Gail, you had a good experience. Great. My voice is a little more raspy than normal. Maybe that's why. So everyone's going to have a different experience. And, one thing that's really common for new meditators is sometimes we think, well, my mind seems even busier than normal when I'm doing this, right? It's actually you just noticing for the first time how busy your mind is all day long, right? All day long, your mind is being pulled in a bunch of different directions. Worry about this, think about that, dwell on this, regret this, right? And it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting. And our mind, left to its own devices, has been doing that, right? For a long time, right? Pretty much however old you are, that's how long it's been practicing doing that. And so now we're trying to be like, no. You're not doing that. You're going to focus on one thing. And our mind's like, no, that's hilarious that you think that that's going to happen, but I'm going to focus on whatever I want. So this is going to take some training to retrain our mind to pretty much obey us, right? So we don't feel like we're just along for the ride, right? Janice, first timer, great. Lily, first timer here, not my first time meditating. It was very calming, great. Yeah. So if even if this isn't your first time, like hopefully some of the things we're going to talk about might like spark something like, that like totally makes sense to me. That's why I use like a million analogies because everyone identifies with something different, right? Janice, north of Toronto. I love Toronto. Great city. Been there a couple times. That was great. Very relaxing. Oh, your daughter's with you. Great. Awesome. I'm glad you guys had a good experience. Alan, first time. Awesome. Great. So even if you found this challenging, this shouldn't be that surprised, right? Because this is new. You are not familiar with focusing on one thing. If I was like, hey, let your mind run wild, then you'd be like, got it. I'm awesome at this, right? So this is just going to take some time, right? Gail, I was able to settle in while there was a major loud construction on my street. Oh, awesome. Gail, that is great. And I'm really glad you brought that up because sound, noise is one of the kind of biggest hangups for new meditators, right? Because we have this kind of feeling that when we meditate, we need perfect silence, right? But actually, that's not true. Meditation does not require perfect silence. Sometimes that can be helpful when we're first learning how to kind of manage our distracted mind, right? Because sound is a distraction, right? But we do not need perfect quiet. In fact, is your life mostly quiet or mostly noisy? It's probably mostly noisy. So if we could only meditate when we had perfect quiet, well, it wouldn't be great. So like Gail, this is really a wonderful thing for you to realize, right? So you're starting to realize that, hey, you know what? Not only can I do this, but I can do this even when my external conditions aren't quote unquote perfect, right? Awesome. Pam, first time from Canada, but only recently started meditating. You put it in very simple terms. I was able to bring my mind back every time it strayed. That's exactly what you want to do. Very common misconception that meditation is never having your mind never drift, right? Your mind thinks. That's what it does. It's going to drift. Your ability to recognize it and bring it back, that's what meditation is. Awesome. Glad that you're making that connection. Cool. If you have any questions about breathing meditation or any of the first two steps, planning our meditation or relaxing with meditation, feel free to ask me. But I'm going to move on to our third step. There's 4, and that is investigating. Okay. So meditation is actually a learning tool, right? And like maybe you're like, I just want to relax. Well, it's interesting actually. to start to realize, well, why does meditation relax you? Meditation isn't pulling relaxation from thin air or something like that. It's teaching you to recognize your natural ability to be relaxed, to become so familiar with your natural ability to be relaxed that your mind can go there more easily than it can now, right? So meditation is a learning tool. That in and of itself is a way of teaching our mind to become familiar with something we want it to become familiar with. We want our mind to become familiar with being calm and being peaceful and not being stressed, right? Some meditations make you breathe deeply at first. Do you have to? No. There are a lot of, great question, Pam. There's a lot of different methods for breathing. And sometimes people really identify with breathing out forcefully and this and that. And that's fine if that's comfortable to you, if you want to, start there. The reason that I teach meditation in a way where you're breathing normally is because I want you to be able to use meditation in your normal life. I don't want you to be having to walk around all day going, whatever. I didn't want to blow the mic, but forceful exhales, right? Otherwise, people are going to look at you. Gonna be like, what are you doing? So we want to start to, even if you like doing that, that's cool. Make some time to also try it, just breathing kind of very casually and very normally, right? Everything that we do here, the goal is to be able to use this in our everyday life, right? So that's why I teach it that way, right? Good question. Okay, so meditation, investigation tool, right? This is called contemplation. Maybe you've heard of that word, another fancy word, right? So this step is all about using our newly relaxed mind. We just relaxed our mind. It's feeling good, right? And now we're going to use it to think about something, right? We think about things all day long, but we often do it when our mind is not very relaxed, right? So this is a way of setting ourselves up through relaxing to be able to think about something with clarity, right? To think about something very clearly, right? So an example that I love to use for this is the lake. The analogy, if you've been coming here before, you've heard this a lot. The analogy of being at a lake. So let's throw all of our steps together, actually, right? Okay, you want to go on a hike. Awesome. Great day. It's beautiful. It's sunny. So you pick this hike that goes to this lake, right? So that's your plan. I'm going to walk on this path and go to this lake. And if for some reason you get distracted, you're like, ooh, a bird. And then you run into the woods a little bit and look at the bird, you can still see the trail and get back on, right? Just like if you have a plan with your mind, right, and it gets a little distracted, you can get it back on track, right? So you're walking down this path, right? And you get to this beautiful lake. And it's a beautiful day. There's no wind, right? There's no rain. And so the lake is very calm, very still. You can see the reflection in the lake very clearly. If I was like, hey, describe to me the reflection in the lake, you'd be like, oh, that is easy. Here is mountains and the grass and there's like a tree, right? It's almost as if you were looking at the actual environment instead of a reflection of it. It's that clear. Now, unfortunately, it starts to rain a little bit, right? And the water droplets are connecting with the surface of the lake. And what's happening? The reflection is becoming muddied a little bit, right? The ripples are making it a little more difficult to see. Now, if it's just raining a little bit, we might be able to still see the reflection, not as clearly, but we can still see it, right? But if it really starts to downpour, we might not be able to see the reflection in the lake at all, right? This is a great analogy of our mind, right? Your mind normally by default is like the still lake, very calm, very peaceful, very collected, thinking reasonably, right? All of the stress, anxiety, bombardment of thoughts, distractions that are happening to us all day long, these are like raindrops and they're falling on the lake. They're falling on our mind and they're making it hard for us to access this kind of natural calm, stillness, clear thinking, right? So the relaxing part of meditation that we just did with breathing meditation is all about clearing away some of those raindrops, right? Now, after we go through the, Herculean effort of doing that, well, we're not just going to walk away. We're going to be like, okay, now I'm going to look at the reflection in the lake. So that's what this step is all about, right? We clear away some of the raindrops by relaxing, and now we're going to look at the reflection. We're going to think about something, right? With clarity, right? What are we going to think about? Well, we can think about anything we want. We're going to think about maybe why do I get anxious about this particular thing? Right? It's a pretty common thing. We deal with. Maybe that's something we want to think about. We're going to think about, why is it I get so angry with my family, or something like that, right? Or why am I feeling sad, or like how can I handle this difficult situation, right? And we have a lot of different methods of doing that. We talk about this in the channel a lot, but this part is all about kind of just thinking about something, but we're thinking about something while we're calm. All right. So steps 2, relaxing, and step 3, investigating, they need each other big time, right? Great kind of example for this is think about, I just knocked my glasses. Think about how, don't you think it's true how you give really good advice to your friends, but like you're maybe not as good as giving advice to yourself, right? Right. So when your friend is having a problem, right? The problem is over there, right? It's the rain cloud is not over your head, it's over there. And so you're looking at it with a lot less fear and anxiety, right? And what happens? You're like, oh, just do this. I would totally do that. That makes sense, right? The problem seems very clear. The solution to the problem seems very clear, right? But if it's our problem, sometimes we really struggle with that, right? We're getting into all the minutia of what this means and everything, right? So relaxing is like kind of creating that necessary space, pushing the storm cloud a little bit further away. And then we look at that storm cloud with less fear and more fascination, right? I always like that because I think it's true. I think we do give really good advice to our friends. And the reason is that we're very calm when we're doing it. We're thinking reasonably, right? So investigation is a really important part. And this area is very personal to you, right? Why are you here? What do you want to accomplish with meditation, right? So these might be the things that you want to investigate, right? Cool. So now, the fourth kind of step we go through when we're meditating, right, is familiarization, or feeling is another way we can think about this, right? So meditation is all about familiarization. We've said this a bunch today. I'm just reiterating it, right? And this is kind of the culmination of our meditation session, right? So if we think about driving a car, right? If I were like, hey, drive your car to the store, you'd be like, okay, and you just do it, right? You don't have to think about all of the mechanics of where's the gas and where's the brake and the steering wheel, 10 and 2, oh, my mirrors, right? Because you're so familiar with driving that driving comes naturally, right? It wasn't always that way, right? There was a time where driving was not a natural kind of activity for you to do, right? And required a lot of concentration, a lot of thinking, right? But over time, your mind, your body became familiar with driving, and driving becomes easy, right? So it's the same like we were talking about with getting angry, right? We're very familiar with anger because we've been kind of gravitating towards that perhaps, right? And so it comes naturally, right? And so we want to tilt the scales, right? So this part of the meditation is all about familiarizing ourselves with this, with whatever we chose to investigate, right? So all of these kind of connections we make, these familiarities that we make, they are all through our mind, right? All these connections come from your mind. And so that's great news because that means you can change what your mind is familiar with, right? So this step is all about kind of looking for what I like to call aha moments. You know what an aha moment is? You ever been like, ah? It's like that. right? So we are meditating, right? Let's say we're thinking about, how we get angry with our family, right? And then we come to some sort of a conclusion. We have like an aha moment. We'll be like, oh, like, you know what? Like, my family is so kind to me, right? Right. I should be so grateful for all the things that they've done for me. Like, maybe I can try to be a little more patient, right? Aha moment, right? So these are the types of things that when we're super angry, they don't really come very easily, right? And we're really concentrating on being angry. But when we're a little more calm, sometimes we have these really cool realizations about some of the problems we're having, right? So we're not just trying to familiarize ourselves with like an intellectual conclusion, right? But rather this kind of all-encompassing, unique feeling that you're personally experiencing when you reach this conclusion. That might sound kind of weird, but think about if I were like, hey, the Bahamas is great, right? There's, a beautiful clear ocean. It's like all inclusive at this resort. I'm telling you all about this, my Bahamas vacation, right? And you're like, okay, I can kind of get the picture of the Bahamas there, but it's very different than if you were experiencing the Bahamas, right? Or if driving, right? If I was like, can you teach me how to drive, right? You could probably do it, right? Here's the gas, here's the brake, here's the steering wheel, blah, blah, blah. But if I were to ask you, what does driving feel like? Harder for you to describe, but you know it, right? You know the feeling of driving, right? Because you have both an intellectual understanding of driving and an experiential understanding of driving, right? So when we're meditating, when we're thinking about something, we want to have an intellectual understanding, but also an experiential understanding. So all that means is when we kind of like, if we ever notice that we're having this kind of like aha moment, we're just going to kind of sit with that feeling, sit in that aha moment. Whatever it feels like, we're just going to sit there. We're not thinking anymore. We're just going to chill. We're just going to kind of bask in this feeling, right? That is us becoming really deeply familiar with an experiential understanding of this conclusion, right? So this is kind of advanced, right? So these 4 steps, they're not that easy, right? Maybe we probably can do a plan, right? Maybe we can do relaxing. That seems good. Maybe the investigating and the familiarization part, we can put to the side for a little while. That's totally fine. But the cool thing is that these 4 steps encompass everything you'll do in meditation. Any type of thing you want to do with meditation, these 4 steps are there, right? So you now have the kind of intellectual knowledge of what a meditation consists of. Plan, relax, investigate something, and then familiarize yourself with the conclusion or the resolution of that investigation, right? So that's, I hope that was like a pretty good deep look at what kind of not only meditation is, but how we go about doing it. And a lot of times when you're learning meditation, very focused on relaxing, right? Which is wonderful, right? But also the true amazing promise of meditation is that you can totally change your life, re-familiarize your mind with the things you want to familiarize it with, right? And that requires some of these other steps too. So I like to mention both of them. That way you just have a good understanding about them, and now you can choose to do what it is you want to do with them, right? So I want to do another very short meditation, right? It'll start very similar to what we did before. And then I'm going to add in a little investigation / familiarization, steps 3 and 4. So we're going to do a full one right now. It might be about 7 minutes long, right? And then you can go back to your lives. Sound good? Okay. So if last time you realized that you were not very comfortable, right? You're like, you know what? This chair is not very comfortable. Great time to change right now. You can go put a little cushion on it or get a different chair. I want you to be comfy. Okay? All right. And you can go ahead and close your eyes. Once again, we're going to do about a 7-minute breathing meditation and a slight like investigation, right? And for that part, you're just going to follow along with what I'm saying and just kind of sit there and enjoy it. All right? Okay. Let's check in once again. How are you feeling now? Different than before? The same? Whatever it is, doesn't matter. We're just noticing. We're practicing mindfulness, taking an interest in what our mind is up to. So just notice how you're feeling in this moment. And we can set an intention. We can make a plan. We can make a promise to yourself that for the next 5 to 7 minutes, you are going to focus exclusively on this meditation. And anytime your mind gets distracted, you're going to put those thoughts aside and bring them back to this meditation. That is your plan. And step 1 has been taken care of. Our plan, step 2, is relaxing. And so now you can turn your full attention to your breath, breathing in and out of your nose very gently and very naturally. See if you can follow your entire in-breath. See if you can follow your entire out-breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Very gently, very naturally. As you begin to relax, begin to allow yourself to relax into your breathing. And if at any point you notice that your attention has drifted, that's okay. Just gently guide your attention back to breathing, back to following each breath in and each breath out. Breathing in and breathing out, very gently and very naturally. As you begin to plug into your breathing, to focus on your breath single-pointedly, you may start to notice some things about breathing that you hadn't noticed before. Maybe you're noticing how the air feels cool temperature-wise each time you breathe in, and how that same air feels warm each time you breathe out. Or maybe you're starting to notice your shoulders rising and falling with each breath, your whole body moving with your breath, an active participant. A sense of oneness between your body and your mind and your breath. Focusing single-pointedly on breathing allows you to find some subtle joys in breathing itself. You are beginning to enjoy breathing. in and out, very gently, very naturally. So, after taking some time to relax our mind, we can then use our relaxed mind to investigate something, to contemplate, to think. Today, we're going to do a short investigation about how we were able to relax just a little bit, all by focusing on our breath. And we're going to think about what that means. What is the deeper meaning of that realization? So just follow along with what I'm saying. Your mind is very similar to a messy room. When you clean your messy room or your home, what happens? You often find things that were obscured by the clutter. Those things were there. They didn't just appear. They were just hidden. You couldn't see them. Your mind is the same way. When you begin to clear your mind of its cluttered thoughts, distractions, stress, you start to find some wonderful qualities about the mind. Things that were there all along. You just couldn't see them clearly. You begin to realize that your mind is naturally peaceful. Peacefulness, calmness, it is your default mind state. Meditation does not create peacefulness. Meditation merely reveals what has been there all along, waiting for you to tap into it. Your naturally peaceful mind. Always there, always available. And you can train yourself to be able to access it easily and whenever you need to. How wonderful. What a wonderful thing to dedicate time to. So just take the next couple of moments and think about what it would mean for you, for your life, to be able to access your naturally calm mindset whenever you need to. How would that change your life for the better? Just think about it. And if at any moment you have a little aha moment, just sit with that positive feeling. And allow your mind to familiarize itself with this beautiful truth that you are naturally peaceful. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? So that was kind of similar, right? We started similarly. We did a breathing meditation, right? Well, first we made our plan, right? We're going to focus on this meditation, right? Then we did a breathing meditation. We relaxed, step 2, right? And then we added on a little spice, right? So we did a short contemplation and investigation, right? And in this investigation, it's kind of like a meta thing to do, but we were thinking about, hey, I am able to relax myself a little bit by focusing on my breath, right? What does that mean, right? That means that peacefulness is in there, right? We didn't do anything special. We're just focusing on our breath. It's in there, right? It's in there. That peacefulness, that calmness, that clarity is in there, right? What does that mean? It's a part of you, right? And you can access it, right? So this is what I would consider to be a full meditation, right? Planning, relaxing, investigating, and then letting ourselves just kind of bask in this conclusion that our mind is naturally peaceful and we can train ourselves to access it. Mm-hmm. And just kind of sit there with that feeling, whatever kind of experience you're having. Right? So the end of it gets a little like nebulous, right? That's kind of cool. How did that go? Was that easier, harder the second time around? Janice, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Heath. Thank you for being here. This is such a cool community of people that are learning to meditate. I never thought this channel would kind of pan out this way so quickly. So I really appreciate you guys being here. I love teaching. Gail, thank you, Keith. I'm super relaxed for the rest of my evening and hopefully for some deep sleep. Go get that REM. Is that deep sleep? I don't know. I'm glad. I'm glad that this was relaxing, right? And it's also at least sometimes for me, I feel like it's pretty uplifting, right? It's like relaxing, but also like I can do this, right? And I think those two things can really transform your life with something as simple as sitting here and breathing, right? We didn't do anything crazy. Ellen, it brings about a nice feeling, one of peace and well-being. Second time was easier. Great. So Ellen, that's a really cool thing to realize too, right? So even the second time that we did this, it was easier. Your mind is more familiar with it than the previous, and it's becoming easier, right? So over time, that's going to continue, right? Now look, some days are going to be harder than others. Some days your mind might be all over the place. That's okay, right? There's no good or bad meditation. You just sitting down and practicing is perfect, right? So don't get discouraged if sometimes you're like, man, my mind's just crazy right now. It happens. My mind does it too. All of ours. I found it harder the second time, but still relaxing. So Pam, that's also a really interesting takeaway, right? So this second one, we did more, right? It was longer. There were more steps, right? So that might be an indication for you that, you know what, I'm going to stick with just the breathing meditation for a little while until that becomes so kind of second nature to me that I don't have to think as much about it. And then I can start to move on to some of the other steps. Cool? Great. Alan, thanks, Keith. Help me relax. Awesome. So if you did have a good time, you found this to be interesting, thought-provoking, relaxing, or any and all of those things, come back. We do this every week. I talk about a different topic each week, but it's all meditation related. We always do a kind of intro breathing meditation, and then we do a meditation on a specific topic. So come on back. And if you want to, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Very helpful for me and also helpful for you. It lets you know when I'm going live in case you forget. Right? We all get very busy lives. We don't always remember that Wednesday is our meditation time. So subscribing to the channel will help with that for sure. And if you are super into this and you're like, hey, this is great, I would like to kind of pursue this further, I teach one-on-one instruction, and I also teach at offices. So you'd be like, hey, go to your HR person and be like, it'd be great if we did like a weekly meditation. And then you not only get a half an hour you don't need to work, but you also get to train in meditation more. It's like win-win. So I'm going to put my email in the chat. So if you are interested in one-on-one instruction, or maybe doing something with your office or something like that, just email me and we'll find an appropriate time to do this, and we'll find an appropriate subject to focus on. The one-on-one meditations are really great because we get to focus on something that's very particular to you, right? Sometimes people are here for anxiety. Sometimes they're here for feeling of sadness, right? So whatever you're here for, we can totally focus on it, which is wonderful. Hold on, I'm just typing in my email. I don't want to make a mistake. I made a mistake. Oh, I gotta fix it. Okay. Whew. Pam, good advice. Yeah, so that's Pam. Definitely, and anyone who's just starting, stick with the breathing meditation first. And if you're feeling pretty good, maybe you can try to move forward with that. But just take slow, manageable steps towards making this a routine. Lily, generally feel like this helps people's health in deep ways in the long run. Yeah. So meditation is a slow burn. It is a slow burn, right? It's not like taking Advil or something like that where like, oh, my knee doesn't hurt, right? But it definitely gets at the core issues, right? It's almost like a little self-therapy session. So yeah, it's really good. And if you need reminders to do this, great piece of advice, set a reminder on your phone, right? So, and Lily, we did a whole series on how to build a meditation routine. I would check that out on my YouTube channel, because I go over, I think it's like 4 really crucial steps that'll help you so you make this into a routine, right? Because doing that is the most important part of having this affect your life in a positive way. Rosa, great meditation is becoming easier. Awesome. That's exactly where you want to be. So thank you, everyone. Like I said, I love this community. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here with me. And I will see you all next week. Take care.